Hello and welcome
to the Heinun Couples Podcast,
where we empower blessed couples
to deepen the love, fostering mutual pleasure, connection, and joy.
So let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Heinun Couples Podcast.
Today we're really excited to welcome a very special guest, Dr. Andrei Esanu.
He's a psychiatrist and psychotherapist with a background in cognitive behavioral therapy and couples counseling. He shares some serious, powerful insight with us.
Yeah, we talked about what really triggers conflict in relationships, why we sometimes get defensive, and this part hit home for me, how the stress from outside our marriage often sneaks into our relationship without us even realizing it.
He also gives us practical tools like the importance of creating small, intentional rituals and how agreements before the conflict can make the big difference during it.
Exactly. Whether you're trying to stay calm in heated moments, reconnect after an argument, or understand each other's needs better, this episode will give you hope and some real strategies to grow together.
So grab a tea, take a walk, or settle in with your spouse. You're in for a very real and encouraging conversation. Let's get into it. Hello, Andrei. Thank you so much for coming and joining us for this podcast episode by Heinun Couples. And yeah, do you want to share a little bit what you are doing please correct me, but as a psychiatrist and psychotherapist, right?
Yeah, it is correct. Hi, Daria. Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for inviting for this interview. Yeah, so I'm a psychiatrist, which means that I also have patients that I treat with medication for different mental disorders. But also I'm a psychotherapist. I'm more working with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT. As a method. And also I'm doing some therapy for couples. So therapy for couples is not my main activity, but is part of my job as well.
Yeah, that was also one of the reasons we wanted to have you here on the podcast. And for our topic for today is mainly the topic of staying calm in heated arguments, and also how to deal with certain defensiveness and coming to connect again as a couple after a heated argument, let's say. And so my first question would be, what are some common triggers that make couples lose their calm or cool during a disagreement?
Yeah, so you chose heated topics, right? About couple disagreements and so on. So I tend to see different types of triggers. Of course, if the couple is more or less stable, I mean, also if they don't have big stresses or difficulties in their life, also in their personal life. Triggers usually are when the person is feeling unheard or disrespected, or in a way that his wishes, his needs are not taken into consideration. So this is kind of like a main triggers that can lead to conflict. But of course, the world is more complicated. So sometimes people also, like a husband or wife, somebody can have also some difficulties, emotional issues. Maybe can have a depression, an anxiety disorder. It can have difficulties in job, difficulties in parenting, difficulties with their parents, in many other types of relationships, and many different roles and domains in their lives. Because in a couple relationship, many times is this kind of intimate relationship where you feel more relaxed. So a lot of people bring these issues and difficulties from other parts of their life in their couple, where they feel more relaxed and where actually they can kind of take out these emotions that they already gathered through the time, through different situations.
That sounds really interesting about but I can relate with this on having topics like before I quit my job. I was working as an executive assistant, and this job was really stressful. And I remember coming home, having at home the safe space and kind of unloading the safe space, unloading all this what I accumulating throughout the day. And then if the other person, like Sebastian, is not in their headspace able to deal with that, it kind of comes to dangerous situation, a potential conflict.
Yeah, thank you for this example, Daria. Actually, this I think is very very helpful. So that you have this insight about your past experience. Yeah, and when you have this awareness about this, of course, this is much easier. I mean, when you cherish your couple relationship and you understand that this can happen, of course, this is very helpful. This kind of awareness. But in many couples, also, I see that this awareness is lacking, which of course leads to couples like husband or wife many times take it personal, like it's personal, but actually it's
Right.
not personal. It's about many things that I have in my life.
Definitely. Yeah. So in case there is if you're aware of it or not as a couple, in case there is a heated situation where maybe the wife comes home after hard days of work and the husband, do you have maybe 2 or 3 quick tips for couples where they can use those to maybe calm down a situation that tends to become bigger and bigger in that moment?
Yeah, so of course it's part also about my own responsibility as a person. So it's good to have this kind of balance between like work life balance, we call it, or when I kind of intentionally do my best. It's not easy and many times doesn't work very well, but intentionally to try to understand and to put, okay, now I prioritize couple or now I prioritize family and my work will wait. I think this is important intentional aspect. And also it can be helpful if as a couple you have this agreement before the situation, before the conflict. So as a couple you have this agreement and it's not always that straightforward because some people are more hard workers or workaholics. They like work and some are less. And in most of the couples is not that kind of absolute balance. Yeah? In some couples, like a wife is more for career and work and so on. In some parts, more husband. And then it's good to have this agreement before, this discussion before. So that, for example, if a husband is alcoholic and like job is very important, when the wife see that he's too stressed from the job, for accepting from the wife, saying, I see that something bothers you and I'm here to listen to you and to support you and so on. So it's good if these agreements are before the conflict. This way, for the husband or for the wife, it's easier to accept support that is proposed. Otherwise, if the conflict is about this, of course, it becomes a bit more complicated. So yeah, I think I will mention maybe today more times about this. But to work about conflict is to work outside of conflict. In the conflict, you already use the tools that you practiced before the one is the conflict is not the time to learn something new, or in the conflict is not the time because usually like emotions are too high and your rational thinking is reduced. Yeah.
Right.
So and of course like what means to prioritize your family or your couple time? It's simple things. I mean, it can be some, we call it like rituals even in psychotherapy. Like I don't know, like it can be a dinner, it can be a tea together, it can be I don't know, like it shouldn't be very long. It can be even 15 minutes, 20 minutes just for relaxed time. So this like 15, 20 minutes of relaxed time in whichever way you like it can be very helpful to disconnect from stress and job in our parts of your life and to connect to your family and couple time.
We like to do it with going for a walk.
Yeah.
Going for a walk, and then I've learned this expression from Hilda Weeman: "Walking the blues away." Kind of.
Walking is very helpful. Walking is helpful also for your physical health, for your mental health, and as you can see, for relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I took away from your advice was it's maybe already too late in the argument to look for some help. It's more important to know what could be a potential argument and then use rituals like eating together or going on a walk, to get a distance from that situation where you came from, where you're, that's what you said, right? That's, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, and what I can add to what you say, Sebastian, is really to have intention in this. I mean, to know the reason why I'm doing this. So because I can do this for my own sake, for my health, and it's different when I do it for like our couple. Yeah, it's so when there is more intention, it has more sense. So externally, it can look the same, but intention can change the inside, like emotions, whatever thoughts you have.
Right. I'm looking for the word agreement, to have agreement before. Can you give an example of a certain agreement that helps in an argument? Like, for example, or not an argument yet, but just before, when I think you said when the husband comes home and then he's a workaholic, or the woman, it doesn't matter, and then the partner sees there's something up and then approaches the person, and if there's agreement beforehand that the partner is able to receive that or talk about it, what kind of agreement was there before?
Yeah, so agreement about talking about stress. So in many couples is there is one person who, or sometimes even both, when they shut down and they don't want to talk about their stress, or like, just leave me alone, I don't want to talk.
I'm like that.
Yeah, so I have couples, but they come to therapy and they don't talk to each other for weeks. It's really difficult to imagine. For me, it's difficult to imagine even days. But yeah, there are couples that don't speak to each other like weeks or days, and yeah, this is their coping mechanism to deal with conflict. Like maybe if I don't talk about this, maybe it's thing down. So agreement to receive help, and also it's good to have discussion how I want to receive help, because many times with good intentions we don't do very good things. Yeah, so talking about, okay, like so next time when you feel this kind of stress, I don't know, or when you feel like this anger, what kind of help do you want? Somebody, for some person, help, it means to be open and to communicate. For somebody, they need a break, like, I don't know, half an hour or something. So it's really to try to understand each one way of communication and how to receive help.
Yeah, that's a really good point on discussing beforehand what to do in a situation where certain things are triggered or kind of stressed. One or both of them are both of the couple are stressed, and then what each individual needs in that moment. Because I'm usually the person who likes to have my space, and Basti is usually the person who is kind of needs connection or being together, or touching, physical touch. And I was like, no, I don't want let me alone. I want to be mad right now, and I want to have the right to be mad.
Yeah. The right to be mad, actually, this sounds very nice. Yeah, of course, not to be like too long, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
usually
for the moment.
yeah, about the
Yeah.
moment. The right to be angry sometimes. Yeah, also like to be angry. I mean, it's never the right to be violent. It's never a case. It's never okay to be violent, but to be angry. Yeah, of course, this is a natural emotion that we have from time to time.
Yeah, I'm actually learning a lot of things right now. Like, as I before said, that a lot of things that when we are at work, or we don't have children yet, but when, for example, I will be at home with my with the kids, and Bas is at work, or I'm with the horses, or because I do horse riding, or Basti is going somewhere with friends, and everybody's in the couple comes together again and has their either baggage or has experienced something, and then at home is the safe space, hopefully, where we feel comfortable with each other and where it can be unloaded. And what came to my mind as well was that if there is some unresolved emotions, or when there's certain intensity or stress, then it's also really difficult to connect intimately with each other.
Yes.
And that was especially in the time I was overworking as an executive assistant. It was for me really difficult to connect sexually or sexual intimacy. And yeah, this whole walking and stuff, even that worked so much. So I'm guessing it's actually not in the question we prepared, but out of curiosity is like, especially for the future for us, I guess, with having kids, being stressed and not having much sleep, and for Basti having the need of sexual intimacy, how can we prevent that it's a lot too long of a stretch, or to connect before that it's becomes an issue, let's say.
Yeah, so intimacy, sexual relationships is a kind of important component of couple relationship. And many times here is also like a big background. So yeah, in every couple, somebody is more active, some is less active. So it's really, in my perspective, what I see and what we talk with couples is to find kind of a middle way or balance in which both do some steps forward to each other. Because some people just read kind of through internet that you need to have sex 2-3 times a week, but then is not the case for many couples. For some even believe like, yeah, I'm married, I'm young, I want sex every day. And for some people it's okay once a month. Yeah. So then I think, of course, from the health point of view, me as a doctor, to have 2-3 times a week is great. Maybe at least once a week is also good. But there are different situations in life, like you mentioned, when you have children, when you're pregnant, when you are not healthy, I don't know, like because of your job and so on, this is not possible. So it's really to communicate about this, to talk about this. And actually physical intimacy and sex is very diverse. It's not only like one type. And for some people actually physical intimacy is really like touching, it's really like having hugs and so on. So it's a lot of also communication and to be open and to get to know each other. And it's interesting that we as human beings, we go through different stages. In some period of life we are more active, in some less active. And I don't know how nature made us or if this is natural or not, but at least studies show that through time, women become more sexually active. I mean, after physics, and men become less sexually active in this period. So it's interesting that when men want more sex, women don't want so much. When women want more, men don't want so much. So I don't know.
That's
Maybe this is for more communication and more kind of showing, because when you see that your partner is doing a step forward towards you, I think this also connect you on very emotional, deep level as well. So yeah, I would not say it's one right way. Of course, when I see couples that they don't have for months a sexual relationship, of course, this sounds not very good. But in general, it's also to learn how to communicate. And in many couples, this communication is very difficult because they have some I don't know, experiences, or because they didn't have this communication in their childhood, and so on and so on. So it's like this is not something an easy topic to discuss in couples. So I think with sensitivity, to approach it with sensitivity and to show steps from both sides, I think this helps.
So what I hear definitely is communication is really, really important too. When it comes to a situation or when one of the people in the couple notices something that they have, that they feel safe also maybe to talk about it. Even maybe there's not immediately a solution for it, but at least to have a conversation about it, and so that both of them feel heard and understood in their points.
Yeah. And also I see in couples many times a lot of assumptions. So like,
Oh,
I know that husband should be more sexually active. So if he's not sexually active, maybe I'm not very good enough, or maybe there is some problem or something. So kind of I heard something, or I know something. I have some assumptions. So based on these assumptions, the conflict is growing. So it's really to know, because in my experience, people are very diverse. It's more diverse than I thought before starting like therapy with people. So it's not that straightforward, like white and black, as many people believe. But because these assumptions exist in society and also on internet, like a lot of people believe this is kind of a true. So I think this communication helps also to discover each other. And as I mentioned, to be open, to understand that, but in the past you are more active, but now less, and you vice versa, what's happening. This is also a normal process. I mean, we are always changing, which I think can be stressful in a way, but also is actually a good possibility to see diversity. And I have one wife or I have one husband, but actually with this changing is a lot of discovery moments. It's a lot of diversity, which helps to have this feeling of when with time couples have this kind of routine and like nothing is interesting and so on. This I think is just not true. It is just you're not attentive to changes that are happening in you and in your wife. And I also saw a short video by a comedian. He said like I think he said something like, I'm married for 30 years or something. So in my life I had a lot of different wives. But actually it was his wife in different forms and different stages and different situations. So I found it very, very interesting.
Yeah. It's also in this time we're growing, right? Like, I mean, I guess this is something what you meant with changing. We're changing and we're growing and evolving in our personal individual life, but also as a couple. And I've seen it a lot since it's almost 5 years ago since we started our communication, and God blessed things, I think 8 months later. And it went everything very quickly. Seeing the involvement and change and growth during this time it's actually really beautiful. I come to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Also, I do it, but do you?
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
What I've also learned is what you just said, never assume anything. That's important. Always talk, always ask, and then everything will be fine.
I think a lot of women do that. I mean, talking with other women, with sisters in SDF, for example, but also in seeing things in movies and stuff, is that a lot of women, I mean, I guess maybe also men, but I know at least for women, is that they have assumption and starting to have this head kino, and it's like, oh no, why has he done that, or why is he doing this, and I'm not good enough because of that. But maybe certain things he has done intentionally, and then kind of creating this. I had that in the beginning, I think, a lot, and I became a lot of times really mad. But then when I started to talk and share what came into my mind, it started actually a lot of times was like, oh, actually, it wasn't that bad. It was really unintentionally. It's like, oh, okay, it was not like as I had it in my head.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. Another thing is that as soon as, I think that's something you said, it kind of answered the question, I guess, is that how can couple that already in an argument or starting to have this uncomfortable conversation on staying calm or being more neutral in a situation rather than going into this outburst.
Yeah, maybe what I didn't emphasize so much in our conversation was also important is personal space and like your own space. Yeah, you are in a couple and it's good to connect more and more, but even in a couple it's good to have this personal space. And again, because this personal space and boundaries are different for different people, then of course this also become a source of conflict for many times, but actually it can become also a source for to know each other better, to discover different aspects of different people. So again, in a couple relationship and in conflict in general, it's important also I work my responsibility. So there is like a common responsibility as a couple, like in communication, but also is my own responsibility, my own efforts, also prayer, also discovery, and so on. It's also interesting when you discover you, because me as a person, I also change for time in different stages. So to rediscover yourself or to see yourself from different aspects, for me, this also see as a beautiful aspect. When we think we know ourselves, but actually in different situations we discover that actually maybe I don't know myself so much. So I to be open to discover yourself as well in this relationship.
Thank you for sharing that. I was wondering, it's also off topic a little bit, but I was wondering if you had good experiences telling couples that they would, rather than saying, you made me feel this way and you did this, you did that, talking about the I feel this way because I felt that. So taking the blame from the other person and just sharing what you feel right now. I was wondering how much importance you see in that way of communication in a couple.
You mean iMessages? Is what you mean?
Yeah, iMessages, exactly.
Yeah, I think iMessage is kind of like a basic aspect in any communication, but especially in couple relationship. Yeah, I have couples from different backgrounds and situations. For me, because I already hear about iMessages for so long time. For me, it's like, yeah, I mean, I thought that everyone knows this, but I discover more and more that a lot of couples don't know about this. So for those that don't know about this is very powerful when they start using this. When they, instead of you never listen to me, they say, I feel unheard. I feel now unheard. So like more like what I feel and kind of what is happening with me, rather than blaming other person. So yeah, this is very powerful. And even for those who know it, I also have couples that know it. I think we also can say that we have this, we know it, but we don't always use it. So I think it's kind of it takes a long time to practice this. Yeah. And of course, words are one thing, but intention, really inside intention. These practices that are very deep, I don't know, we can call it even religious, but they are actually very practical for mental health or for relationship. Is this practice of forgiveness from time to time, a practice of gratitude, which is kind of for centuries here, but sometimes we forget to practice them. And we try to defend ourselves and we try to prove ourselves and we try to, I don't know, like in a way we stress each other more than is needed.
Yeah, because you just said defend oneself is like we asked this question or we prepared this topic because we have created a survey where couples can share where they have either challenges or things work well in their couple, and one part was becoming very emotional and doing an argument, and the other most clicked or most choice was chosen was getting defensive during an argument. Yeah, what is your experience on what makes someone become defensive? I have my personal kind of a guess somehow, but I want to first hear it from your side.
Okay, then I can share my kind of opinion, experience, and then I will be happy also to hear yours. So there is a general knowledge about defense mechanisms that we all have, different types. Some say there are 5 types, some say more, and so on. So these like defense mechanisms that we use in different types of relationships. So of course, these defense mechanisms are also happening in a relationship. So also what I see in some couples, they try to avoid in a way heated moments and so on. And in this trying to avoid, they start using this defense mechanism, but actually it's just increasing the emotions there. And also I see a lot of kind of perfectionism, yeah, in people. So like I have to be perfect everywhere. Also, I have to be perfect in my relationship. I have to be perfect in my life. In some situations, in couple, also this is seen that, yeah, I must show that I'm perfect. So this is another reason that I see in couples. And also in defensive mechanism is usually as a result of when the person feel threatened or when the person feel that somebody attacks you. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes in couples there is kind of these attacks and people include this defensive mechanism. But sometimes these attacks, so-called attacks, are not really attacks, but it's more like, again, because of many assumptions in the head, and they start involving this defense mechanism. And yeah, it's more complicated than this because this is something that they learn. People usually learn from childhood, from their parents, from the environment around them, from other people. So many times people are not even aware of them. Other times is like even they're aware, it's not that easy to get rid of them. So yeah, this is like my kind of understanding.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything new, but I definitely see that with this being attacked. But I feel like also when people pointing out insecurities and then unresolved is insecurities, that when they, even if it's unintentionally, when I don't see that so much in our couple, but it more happens with me other people when they're kind of pointing on, even though it's in a normal conversation, and then asking about something, and then I feel really insecure about it. Or when there's certain topics that I'm struggling with or dealing with, and then I feel like I really have to trying to keep my cool and not getting defensive or kind of snappy.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So I connect very much what you're saying with like this tendency to be perfect, perfectionist. So of course we are not perfect. So when we have some unresolved issues, as you mentioned, that makes us feel insecure, that makes us feel vulnerable. So yeah, actually vulnerabilities in a couple can become a beautiful thing to connect to each other. But for this, it needs also time and a lot of trust and safe space and so on. But in our relationship, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, it's related to job or like with friends and so on. And if some kind of insecurities or vulnerabilities or difficulties that you have are there, then of course you include all the defense mechanisms possible there. So yeah, sure. Thank you for adding this. I think this is important.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. So We were wondering if a couple wants to improve their relationship in the aspect of being more understanding towards each other and more aware, I guess, of the situation. Would you have some proven good practices, some homework for couples that they can do, that they can remember, and just practice to become more intentional?
Yeah, so I think simple things. Many people just think, oh, sometimes in therapy, this is too simple to be true. So yeah, even daily check-ins. Many times, me and Diana, my wife, we many times mentioned this. Once a day to have a call for 5-10 minutes. It helps to connect. And when you feel connected, it's less chance for conflict. Another thing, like Diana showed me a study, like there are different types of kisses. Yeah, like sometimes couple kiss just for less than a second, but studies show that you need to have at least 3, 4, 5 seconds kiss when you leave home. Yeah. So this also gives this kind of connection. To have at least once a week some kind of check-in, a little bit more in depth. You don't need to do this every day, but once a week to have like, I don't know, like for example, half an hour. Usually I say not too much, because half an hour is more easy to organize. So when you check and see, okay, what was good this week, what went not very good, and what we want for next week. Simple conversation, this kind of like a check-in, and then to have also some kind of date nights and so on to connect. This also very helpful. And in my experience, I don't know how, I see that more and more people start knowing about this, but still not that many people do this. So like, I mean, it's not about knowing this, but try to implement in your life. Yeah, and yes, of course, to read about these different books and different articles about how to improve couple relationship and so on. It is also helpful. Also to read together, to discuss. Sometimes discussing in the couple about like different situations that they see in other couples. How would they deal with this? How, I mean, not about gossiping or about saying or criticizing our couple, but really to reflect. For example, when we have children, we see that not sleeping, to prepare about this situation before. It doesn't mean that it will work the way you prepare, but at least you had this communication already. And then when it becomes, you can laugh together about, okay, we thought it's like this, but actually it's completely different. But at least we had this communications. So this I saw useful, like simple things to practice regularly. Also, I think to give this space for personal growth and to encourage each other for personal growth. Unfortunately, we see in couples when wife wants attention for herself and doesn't care about the career of the husband, and vice versa. When husband wants attention to take care of him and doesn't take care of career and job of her wife. So I think it's really to support personal growth. I think this is also very beautiful when it exists in couples. And because I see sometimes couples that we want so much to be our couple very good, and we know that couple is the most important, but they forget that actually personal growth is also important in this process.
Right.
I think these a few things that I can mention.
Can you give maybe one book as an example that would be great for a couple to read?
Yeah, I believe already all couples that listen to this know, but I like Five Love Languages. I think this is a nice book. This also shows about different ways to connect and to love each other and to try different aspects. What I can say also that actually we talk about five love languages, but through time also it can change in our life. I mean, like
Right.
in my 20s, I can like one type. In my 30s, I can change a little bit. Also to be open to these changes.
Yeah, that's a good book because there's a test you can do online on what person is more what. So I guess we have to do it again because 5 years or 4.5 years ago, it was like both at the very highest was physical touch was for both of us. I think physical touch is for Basti still.
Yeah. Yes, to repeat it like once in 5 or 10 years is also nice. Interesting to see how you change as a person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I have, I think, two more questions. One thing is, you have mentioned that already a little bit. For example, that I've seen in couples quite often is that, for example, the wife stays at home with the kids and is really exhausted throughout the day. And then the husband has a very demanding job and still keeps, also supports the family and takes care of the kids. But it's really difficult for him or for her to then connect as a couple. But so there, it's like almost they are coexisting with each other, more or less, because one of them is just has a lot of difficulties to invest or doesn't feel really wanting to or is not inspired, but one of them is really inspired, wants to, and feels then discouraged to keep going and feels like my investment doesn't go anywhere. What can be done?
So the idea is that, of course, this is a new stage. I mean, when children in the couple, when start having children, it's a different stage. So it's also good to have some preparation time for this and to understand that this can happen. This can happen for many reasons. It can be because you are tired and you are invested and the child is too demanding, but also of your health, your hormone, your yeah, on the level of your body changes and so on. So I think it's again it's to be aware that these changes can happen and to start again communicating or to continue communicating with understanding that these changes can happen. And if, for example, for example, intimacy was like once a week or 2 3 times a week before, to understand that this can happen in this stage of life and to be aware and to discuss again and to again to see, okay, now we are in this stage, what will be my step forward, what will be your step forward. And maybe I didn't emphasize enough, but I think when you are too tired, when you are too difficult, is to see what you can change in your life. And many times it helps if you ask for help. You can ask for help at your boss at job. You can ask for help with your relatives, your parents, and so on, for helping with your children, with your friends. So this is a possibility that I see many couples don't use. They feel it's like it's my responsibility, it's my child, my family. Yeah, it's true. All this is true, but I feel it's okay to ask for help. I mean, not to take out all your responsibilities, but to be honest with yourself and with people around you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. Last question is that because we have talked a lot about conflicts or there's certain emotions and defensiveness, but if it comes to an argument and there is hurt or damage created, how can a couple reconnect or heal from that situation, conflict?
Yeah, so depends on the damage again. There are damages that not sure how they. I mean, when there is violence, for example, violence is
Right.
a completely different topic. I mean, if you talk about conflict without violence, then is one thing. When it's violence, then it changes a lot.
Yeah.
So if you talk about conflict without violence, then reconnecting is again acts of kindness, acts of attention, also giving space, communication, and it takes forgiveness also from the person who felt hurt by the partner, by the spouse. It becomes more complicated when both felt hurt and when both believe they are right. In this situation, of course, it's more complicated. So it's more then it means that it's need more communication to understand and sometimes to agree for to disagree. Yeah. So like if this agree to disagree, of course, it's not about the main values. I mean, of course, like fidelity. I don't know, like things that are really like main core values. This is not about agree to disagree, but there are a lot of other things in our life that are not our core values. And sometimes it's okay to have different points of view and different ideas and to accept this and yeah, to be open to accept.
Yeah, right. Does this to agree to disagree is something that we have learned, I think, almost a year ago, or not even, maybe not even, maybe a quarter year ago, and that was so interesting. That was for me really this aha moment, this whoa, mind blowing.
Yeah, we don't have to make it all even and perfect. We can both feel hurt and we can both feel we were
Right? Maybe.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, we talked it out so that we both felt, okay, we feel connected again, although we felt mistreated before or unfairly treated.
Yeah, maybe.
Unfairly treated. Yeah.
And then it's okay. Both of us are. It's okay that we both have these feelings and have this opinion, and still seeing each other. On I see you. I disagree, but I see you.
Yeah, yeah. And to be able to stay connected when you are in agree to disagree, I think this is also very powerful when you okay, I accept you being different. Because for many couples, this kind of, they feel very insecure. If we disagree, if it's a disagreement, then yeah, this is not, maybe it's a conflict and something bad happening, and through time it will become worse and worse and worse, and this kind of thinking. So yeah, of course, to have too many agree to disagree is not good. But from time to time, is normal. We are different people, and it's actually a learning process also for this.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that was such an interesting interview. Thank you so much for your time. That was, yeah, I feel like I've learned quite a lot through talking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hope
Thank you.
to have maybe to another topic to have you again on the podcast. And it was a real pleasure to have you
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
guys.
much.
Yeah, I also like very much your couple, and thank you for helping me with my answers, with giving your examples. You are very brave, and
Thanks.
yeah, wish you good luck, and thank you for your work you do with these podcasts.
That goes back to you as well. Thank you for your work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. See you
See
soon.
you. Bye
See you.
bye.